Microsoft. One of the most valuable companies on Earth. Over $3 trillion in market value. For over 50 years, the definition of a premium blue-chip American tech company. In September 2024, they signed a deal to reopen a nuclear power plant. That's right, a power plant. Not just any power plant either. 3 Mile Island, the site of the worst nuclear disaster in American history. A name that spent 45 years meaning one thing: meltdown. And Microsoft said, yeah, turn it back on, we need that. Not for a city, not for a hospital, but for AI. And the reason why should worry you. Every time you type a prompt into ChatGPT and hit enter, that single query uses roughly 10 times the energy of a Google search. Sounds small, it's not. Because 100 million people are doing that every single day. And what does that have to do with Microsoft? Well, Microsoft invested over $13 billion into OpenAI, the company behind ChatGPT. In return, they got to run the entire thing on Azure, Microsoft's cloud. Every query, every API call, every developer building on top of OpenAI's models, all of it runs on Microsoft servers. And Microsoft's electricity bill. And they didn't stop there. They wired that same technology into everything they own. Word, Excel, Outlook, Teams, Windows, Bing. Hundreds of millions of users. Every single one of them spinning a GPU in a Microsoft data center, drawing power around the clock. Think of AI's energy problem like a tab at a bar. Microsoft is the one who opened it. And they just committed $80 billion to data center construction in 2025. $80 billion. That's more than 3 years of NASA's entire budget, all of it, in 1 year. Satya Nadella believes whoever controls the most compute wins the AI era. That's not hype. That's a bet with the full weight of the company behind it. But all that compute needs electricity. Massive, uninterrupted, always-on electricity. And there isn't enough. The American power grid was built for a 20th century country. Factories, suburbs, strip malls running air conditioners in July. It's a 2-lane highway built in 1965, and now someone's trying to route the entire internet through it. In Northern Virginia, the largest data center market on the planet, new projects are being delayed 3, 4, 5 years. Not because of permits, not because of politics, because they do not have the power. The grid is full. Municipalities across the country are turning data centers away. Hospitals, schools, neighborhoods, all competing for the same watts as a warehouse full of GPUs. Solar and wind are growing, but they're intermittent. You can't run a data center on sunshine and hope. Natural gas is fast, but it shreds every carbon-neutral promise these companies spent a decade making. Which leaves one option, the one nobody wanted to touch. For 45 years. March 28, 1979. The cooling system inside reactor number 2 at 3 Mile Island failed. Radioactive gas leaked into the air over central Pennsylvania. 140,000 people evacuated. The governor told pregnant women and young children to leave. For 45 years, that name carried one meaning: disaster. But here's what most people don't know. 3 Mile Island had 2 reactors. Unit 2 melted down. Unit 1, right next door, kept running safely for another 34 years. It shut down in 2019, not because anything was wrong, it was perfectly functional, just no longer profitable. 5 years later, Microsoft came knocking. A 20-year power purchase agreement. Not a pilot, not a study. A binding contract to buy every single watt that reactor produces, giving its owner, Constellation Energy, the revenue guarantee it needed to pour over $1 billion into restarting it. A nuclear plant the free market declared dead came back to life because one company's hunger for compute rewrote the economics of American energy overnight. A tech giant got so desperate for power that it reached into the most psychologically radioactive name in American energy: and said, "We'll take it." That's not a PR move. That's a company that has run out of easier options. Microsoft wasn't alone for long. Google signed a deal with Kairos Power to build small modular reactors, next-generation nuclear plants built in clusters near the data centers that need them. Not for the grid, for Google. Amazon bought a nuclear-powered data center campus outright from Talon Energy, 1.9 gigawatts, directly connected to a reactor. No grid, no middleman. Meta wants up to 6.6 gigawatts of new nuclear capacity by 2035. That's multiple full-scale reactors for one company. These are the same companies that spent a decade telling you they were saving the planet. Google promised carbon-free energy by 2030. Amazon put climate pledge on an entire arena. And they meant it. Nuclear is carbon-free, zero emissions at the point of generation. By that measure, they're still keeping the promise. But here's the part they won't put in a press release. Google's emissions are up 51% since 2019. Amazon's carbon footprint has been climbing every year. And the reason is sitting right in front of you. The AI boom they're all racing to win is the single biggest thing destroying their own climate pledges. So they didn't abandon the mission. They just created a problem so large that nuclear was the only thing big enough to solve it. But here's what none of them will admit. Nobody knows where the ceiling is. Microsoft, Google, Amazon, they're not just competing to build the best model anymore. They're competing to lock down the physical energy supply that makes those models run. The battlefield isn't code, it's power plants, transmission lines, and 20-year contracts for power plants that haven't been built yet. Nobody's asking whether this was the right call. The deal is signed. The reactor is coming back online. The contracts run 20 years. What's worth watching is what happens next, because power was just the first thing AI ran out of. This was never just about power. It was about what AI needs, and what the world will rearrange itself to provide. Power was the first ask. It won't be the last. AI needed power. Nobody said no. What it needs next? It'll probably get that too. The real question is, are you watching closely?